Unlisted videos, insider drops. The only way in is through my private SMS list.
Governor Tim Walz flew overseas to trash President Trump while a political firestorm was building back home in Minnesota. Now the audit is out and the picture is very ugly. State managers accused of backdating records, creating new documents, and shoveling taxpayer money out the door without basic checks. One payment alone, $672,000 for a single month of work with no clear documentation of what was actually done. If that weren't enough, one official allegedly left government and then became a paid consultant for the same entity. So here's the question tonight. Was this incompetence, corruption, or a cover-up hiding in plain sight? So why does it matter? It's because who pays taxes and expects government to do the bare minimum before handing out your money? If a state agency can push out millions with weak verification, vague paperwork, and apparent after-the-fact record creation, then this is not just a Minnesota problem, it's a warning sign about what happens when Democrat machines grow comfortable, arrogant, and unaccountable. Under Tim Walz, Minnesota has already become a national punchline on fraud oversight. And now this new report adds fuel to the fire. Critics say Walz and Attorney General Keith Ellison brushed off fraud concerns, acted like the public was overreacting, treated the whole mess like it was someone else's problem. That attitude is exactly why people are furious while President Trump is fighting to restore accountability, secure the border, rebuild American industry, and put the country first. Blue state leaders like Walz look more interested in protecting the system than protecting citizens. When politicians laugh off fraud, they're only laughing at you. And speaking of government finally putting America first instead of wasting taxpayer money, there is major news tonight that you need to hear. Pay attention. The White House just announced over $30 billion to secure America's critical mineral supply chains, named a specific Alaskan project as a key strategic asset for U.S. mineral independence. Now, that's exactly the kind of America First action we should be seeing under President Trump. I've been to the Bisla copper drilling site myself. I've seen and held the core samples. What's happening right now in Alaska, though, bigger than most people realize. President Trump just unveiled Project Vault, a $12 billion strategic mineral reserve designed to stockpile essential resources and keep America strong, secure, and self-reliant. Now, Bisla Copper is positioned right in the middle of this huge national push. The company trades, now pay attention, in the United States under VCUFF and in Canada as VCU.V. Check the exclusive briefing to find out more, but it's only for Next News viewers. Link below. Now let's get back to the Minnesota scandal, because the deeper you look, the worse it gets for Tim Walz. See, here's the twist that makes this story even more dangerous for Tampon Tim. It's not just about sloppy bookkeeping. Auditors say DHS managers created or backdated documents during the audit process itself. Did you hear me? Not before the questions started, but while investigators were looking. That's why conservatives are calling this more than just mismanagement. Michelle Tafoya put it bluntly, saying Walz and Ellison are willing to lie through their teeth about fraud in their own state, and once voters hear that, the trust is gone. Blue Lives Matter posting, the truth is out. The Minnesota Auditor report has been released, and it confirms Tim Walz's Department of Human Services, DHS, literally made up records and did not verify grant recipients. It also found that they tried covering their tracks, enabling massive fraud. Walz needs to immediately resign, and we're excited to hopefully see him behind bars. We all want to see Tim Walz going to prison. The most explosive revelation is that the managers within DHS tried to cover their tracks by backdating and creating new documents. Listen to this news report.
Against fraud. The performance audit shows the Behavioral Health Administration sent millions of dollars out the door in grants without making proper checks into who was receiving them. And that is not even the most jaw-dropping finding. Lou Raguse has tonight's top story. Lou?
Julie, according to the nonpartisan legislative auditor, this is another case of mismanagement of taxpayer money. But perhaps the most explosive revelation is that managers within DHS, the Department of Human Services, tried to cover their tracks by backdating and creating new documents.
I do want to talk about what a serious issue this is and how it is, frankly, unacceptable.
Another sobering report by the Office of the Legislative Auditor, this one concerning the Behavioral Health Administration within the Department of Human Services, which issues grants to providers treating mental health and drug and alcohol addiction, hundreds of millions of dollars each year. The audit found them issuing grants to applicants without a bidding process.
So what we saw is that there was multiple entities that could have been eligible, and they chose not to provide a justification for why they were picking those.
This report is quite stunning.
One outrageous example, the auditors found a grantee that was paid $672,000 for 1 month of work without any info on what they do. And the audit says the grant manager who paid it then left DHS a couple days later and became a paid consultant for that company.
To me, that's criminal.
Auditor Judy Randall says she was most shocked that during the audit, multiple DHS managers backdated or created new documents to try to cover their tracks.
Frankly, in the 27 plus years I've been with OLA, I have never seen this before. I will say we have had suspicions periodically, but we have never been able to prove it, to document it. And we did in this case. And it's very troubling.
Temporary DHS Commissioner Shireen Gandhi's response.
I was shocked to hear this information in the exit conference, and it is absolutely unacceptable that any staff would provide anything other than accurate representation of the work done to an auditor.
Now, there were a lot of questions from lawmakers about whether this audit should result in criminal investigations. So we'll see what comes from that. The Office of the Legislative Auditor provides recommendations both to the department and to lawmakers in case law changes are needed. Just one more time of what the auditor said regarding this fabrication of documents. She called it a systemic problem within DHS.
I mean, Lou, it just seems like every time you think it can't get worse, it does. I do think this is jaw-dropping. You mentioned that they were talking about criminal investigations. I think I speak for a lot of people watching right now who really want there to be some kind of accountability. Did you get any sense from that meeting today or in talking to any of your sources that there actually will be accountability?
Well, no, that's something that's going to require some follow-up, because one problem the auditors had is they didn't have subpoenas to issue to people that no longer work for the BHA within the DHS, and so they couldn't bring those people in and question them. And so it would take an outside agency such as law enforcement to look into it.
Just unbelievable. All right. Thank you, Lou.
Will there be accountability? Is there ever accountability? The audit didn't just show incompetence, it showed fake records, missing oversight, taxpayer cash flying out the door. Now, Minnesota Senate hopeful Michelle Tafoya tells Fox News Digital how Governor Tim Walz and Ellison, AG Ellison, are willing to lie through their teeth when it comes to the fraud in the Democrat-run state.
Seen it with the Quality Leering Center. We know that there have been so many mistakes made. And when you are the governor, the buck stops with you. And so it's not only did Ellison and Walz talk to Congress, they spoke so disrespectfully about their own state, about their own responsibility, about the problem in general, and almost laughed it off. Tim Walz and company want us to believe there's zero voter fraud. Now we've got one example. Where there's smoke, there's fire. I'm certain that's not the only example. And for them to say that we have perfect elections when they have just proven to us that they are willing to lie through their teeth about where our money is going is laughable.
Her point's simple. They'll lie about where the money went. Why should anyone trust a word they say? Next up, we have Greg Gutfeld unloading on Walz for running to Spain to trash President Trump while his own record keeps blowing up back home.
Walz goes to a foreign country to bash the president of the United States, and he's the only governor in American history to have his state conquered by pirates. Think about it. I mean, it's like he is the last guy anybody should listen to. He's like a teenager that goes on a message board to like Reddit or something to bash Sydney Sweeney. It's therapy for the unpopular. The reason why he gets a warm embrace there is because they don't know what he's done. The only way he can get any recognition is if they don't recognize him. Who is this guy? They don't like Trump. He doesn't like Trump. That's okay. Again, it's a Trump alignment problem. If Walz goes abroad to bash Trump, he's also bashing America because he's the agent for America, and he's seeking out an audience that actually appreciates it. He is, in effect, a traitor, but we already knew that. Now, I will defend Democrats because they are the opposition party, and you really only have one role, opposition. This is why when we talk about how politically divided we are, it's true, but it's also kind of baked in the system. You can't expect the Dems to embrace the Republicans when the Dems aren't in power. That's how it works. However, you do expect fierce opposition with a measure of responsibility. You know, if there are two boxers in the ring, there's an agreement. One isn't going to enter the ring with a switchblade, but they've.
So after the fraud questions and the overseas anti-Trump grandstanding, Walz gets hit from another angle. Here we have this. This is one of the most brutal assaults on Tim Walz's intelligence I've ever seen by Representative Tim Fallon. Listen to this.
Facts are your leadership and really your lack of leadership has been responsible for one of the largest ripoffs of the American taxpayer in our history. And you traded, I believe, political expediency, the currency of political expediency, for your integrity. And, you know, Mr. Chairman, I don't know if you know this, but it's been widely reported that in 2008, when Barack Obama was choosing his vice presidential candidate, he had three criteria. He wanted to make sure he picked somebody that wasn't as smart as him and had less talent and charisma and couldn't possibly outshine him. So he picked Joe Biden. And then Joe Biden in 2020 used the exact same criteria. He wanted to make sure he picked somebody who wasn't as smart as him, had less talent and charisma, and wouldn't outshine him. And he picked Kamala Harris. And then in 2024, Governor, I think it's very evident why Kamala Harris picked you. The talent pool, Mr. Chairman, the talent pool isn't just shallow. Brother, we have hit the shore, and I yield back.
An epic takedown right there. Oh, boy. Oh, it's just getting worse and worse for Tim Walz. Of course, the impeachment is happening in his state. See, he flew overseas, though, to trash President Trump while a political firestorm was brewing back home in Minnesota. The audit's out, the picture very ugly. State managers accused of backdating records, creating new documents, and shoveling taxpayer money straight out the door without basic checks. A single payment alone, $672,000 for a single month of work with no clear documentation of what was actually done. If that weren't enough, one official allegedly left government and then became a paid consultant for the same entity. So here's the question tonight. Was this corruption or a cover-up hiding in plain sight? You see, this all matters. It all matters because they're laughing at you. He's laughing at you from overseas. But we're not laughing anymore. We are demanding accountability. And now the twist that makes this story even more dangerous for Walz, it's not just about sloppy bookkeeping. Auditors say DHS managers created or backdated documents during the audit process itself. Not before the question started, but while investigators were looking. Okay? So the real story here is bigger than an audit. It's the culture Democrats spent years demanding blind trust in government, demanding more money, more programs, more bureaucracy, and less scrutiny from the public. But when the books get open, what do we find? Missing verification, bizarre payments, revolving door relationships, and alleged efforts to cover tracks. Then Walz jets off to Europe to bash President Trump as if attacking the man cleaning up Washington will distract from the mess he helped create in Minnesota. See, that's the establishment playbook. Fail at home, perform outrage abroad, and hope the media protects you. But this time the paper trail is out, the excuses are weaker than ever, and the panic on the left is getting harder and harder to hide. See, Tim Walz, he's not the victim in this story. Minnesota taxpayers are. The families who play by the rules are. The citizens who expect honest government are. This audit didn't just expose bad judgment, it exposed what happens when power operates without fear of accountability. And now the same political class that mocked concerns about fraud wants you to ignore documented failures and alleged backdating records. Not happening, folks. The America First movement has spent years warning that bloated blue state machines waste your money and protect their own. And tonight that warning looks more accurate than ever. If you want real-time updates, the censors can't bury, text that number on the screen. Text raw feed to 844-840-4963 to beat the algorithm suppression of this channel and get a direct message from me to your phone. And share this report. Leave a comment and subscribe if you are done with the cover-ups. Are you? Yes or no? Should Tim Walz resign? Should he go to jail? Check out the Next News merch shelf below this video. Stay bold, stay loud, and keep fighting for the truth.
The system controls information. Information control is power.
They don't want you to see this.
The truth only survives together. They don't want this shared. Share this now. You know out.